Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Ocarina of Time Dungeon Guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at the game's second dungeon. This one's called Dodongo's Cavern. This dungeon right here is quite a bit more interesting than the Deku Tree, mostly because there's going to be a lot more in the way of, environmental hazards we're going to have to watch out for, and there's also going to be some mini-bosses to fight, so let's take a look. Alright, so starting out here, we're going to be entering this big open room with this big dinosaur skull in the back of it. That apparently is one of the Dodongos that this dungeon is named after. Luckily, we won't be fighting any Dodongos of that size, so we got that going for us. Other than that, however, this room is going to become pretty familiar to us by the end of the dungeon. We're going to be dipping in and out of it a couple of times. You can see a locked door there on the right-hand side of your screen. There is actually a switch to unlock that within this room, actually, but it's sort of out of reach, but we'll sort of cover that in just a few seconds. In the meantime, we're going to be blowing up this wall right here, and this is pretty cool. Right away, we're going to gain access to this dungeon's map, so we'll be able to reference that if we need it. Just like in the Deku Tree, we'll be collecting the map, the compass, and any new big items in Dodongo's Cavern. That was me trying to avoid spoilers, even though you can probably guess what kind of item we'll be collecting in this dungeon. But yeah, that was all to say, if you're looking for a guide on gold Skulltulas, that will be a different series. Coming over here, we're actually going to see the switch that will unlock that other door over there. You can barely kind of see it up there, a yellow switch. Unfortunately, that ledge is just a little bit too tall for Child Link to jump up and get on top of. Child Link being a little vertically challenged. I can relate to that. Anyway, coming over here, we're going to see these baby Dodongos, which may actually be the cutest enemies in Ocarina of Time. I kind of want one as a pet, as one tears my face off. Coming over here, we're going to see another locked door and a switch. This seems simple enough. Press the switch, the door unlocks, but the moment you step off of it, you notice that this is kind of a new switch. We haven't seen one of these yet in the game. I call these momentary switches. You have to sort of weigh them down. Like you can step on it yourself and kind of see what it does, but the moment you hop off of it, everything's going to kind of reset to the way it was before. Luckily, there's some statues here for us, so we'll kind of push one onto the switch, which will hold it down and sort of indefinitely for us, and we'll be able to move on. That switch type is certainly not, unique to Dodongo's Cavern. We'll be seeing those more throughout Ocarina of Time. And here we are with the game's first mini-boss fight. This fight is actually pretty interesting. We got a pair of these lizard guys, and they sort of take turns fighting us. And you'll hit each one a couple of times, and then that one will sort of run away, sort of disengage from you. And you really can't chase any one of them down. You pretty much have to sort of let them, I guess, dictate the fight. Like when one runs off, don't chase it. I'm pretty sure you can't catch up. They may even be invulnerable. You may actually not be able to damage them. But as you can see, I fight the one that comes to me, and when it decides to run away, I just let it happen. And the next one will come in, and you can kind of see how I'm waiting for their attacks, and using the Hylian shield, I just hold R, which pretty much makes you completely invulnerable to everything in this game. And I kind of just wait for them to attack, and the moment they attack, I get a jump slash in, and it's actually a pretty safe and consistent way to fight those guys. We're actually going to be fighting another pair of those lizards here in Dodongo's Cavern, and then even later on in the game, which isn't important right now, but yeah, that's a sort of a reoccurring enemy that we'll see at least a few more times in Ocarina of Time. Over here, we've got a much longer and very blue room filled with more grown-up Dodongos, which will blow fire at us if we get too close. You can fight them if you'd like. You can slash their tails. Just got to be careful, because as you can see, they'll spin around real quick. Not only is there their spinning motion that'll actually hit you, but they're also sort of turning around to blow fire at you. So kind of be aware of that. You can also throw the bomb flower bombs at them, but I'm just going to ignore them. As you can see, there was 3 torches in that room. Luckily, I still have some Deku sticks. I was able to light all those real quick. Those are those torches that will go out if you take too long, so you kind of got to be quick. That switch there was the same switch that we were kind of taking a look at not too long ago on top of that balcony. Of course, opens this door on the opposite side of this big room. And yeah, that's the same big room that we were in not too long ago. I always enjoy popping out of a door in a video game and realizing that, hey, this is a place that I've been. That moment of realization is kind of fun. This room right here has a ton of bomb flowers in it. and we'll be dealing with that in just a few seconds, but first we're going to hop into this side room over here. This one has the compass in it, so we'll be able to get a better idea of where we are on the map, which is always nice. This room right here has a pretty fun twist. It looks like, of course, it's just a statue that we can push out of the way of that chest, but it turns out it's freaking alive, man. So that'll wake you up. These guys you can't hit with your sword, so you have to use the bombs, which can be kind of tricky. And then after you hit them, be careful, they'll kind of do a suicide attack at you. They'll spin around all crazy and run at you, and they'll explode. So we will be seeing more of those enemies throughout the game. What's kind of nice about them is if you just don't run into the statue, they'll never wake up. So that's me showing that those are actual statues. But yeah, unless you're trying to weigh a switch down, I just don't touch those statues, and then it's never really a problem. In any case, we're back out here with this interesting structure. We can see that there's pathways up there, places to go, and this has always been pretty fun. If you grab this one bomb flower and place it right in between these other two patches of bomb flowers, they'll kind of be set off at the same time, which will cause this big, huge staircase to come sort of collapsing down. And then we'll gain access to this upper level up here. That was surprisingly tricky for me as a little kid as I was playing this game for the first time. I kind of knew what I had to do. I figured I had to blow up all the bomb flowers at the same time. So I would use the bomb flowers over here. I would like grab one of these bombs and, you know, try to blow it up. And that just doesn't work. You have to use that separate bomb flower to make everything explode sort of at the same time. A red rupee there in that jar. It's a nice little pickup. I usually try to grab that as I'm coming up this ramp. That's sort of a good point to make about Ocarina of Time. It's that, you know, when you're cutting grass or breaking pots, the loot that you see, the loot that drops is, you know, almost always random. You know, you'll randomly get rupees or randomly get Deku seeds for your slingshot, but that's not always the case. There are certain jars that have like predictable drops. Like one thing that I can think of is, you know, you might be in a room with torches that you have to light. And you might realize that, oh no, I don't have any Deku sticks, but I haven't seen a Deku Baba since, you know, the beginning of the game. Where am I going to get a stick? Well, if you break, there might be a specific jar in the corner of the room that you break open, and it always drops a Deku stick. So, you know, if you're having fun with Ocarina of Time and you think you may run through the dungeons a couple of times, maybe you'll play the game over, you know, more than just once. It may actually be worth sort of taking a mental note whenever you see certain things pop out of jars. Anyway, though, we crossed that big rope bridge in the big room again. That was overhead. You could actually see down where the dungeon started, which was pretty cool. And now we're in this pretty maze-like room. This place is pretty intimidating, so try to stick with me here. I think really the only thing you really need to keep in mind is as you enter that room, if you look straight ahead, you've caught a glimpse of that bombable wall there. I'm actually going to see up right here. This is where we're going. So we got a ladder here, but the obviously the bomb or the bombable wall is not something we can deal with just by like climbing up the ladder. So if you pull this block out and actually sort of turn around and hop up here, there's actually a bomb flower that we can use to break open that wall. I forgot what was in this chest, so I decided to open it. Usually I pass on the optional chests, which I believe all of these small chests are when you're playing as Child Link. And anyway, we're going to grab this bomb flower. And I kind of like to let the fuse burn a little bit. It makes it somewhat easier to throw that bomb over. If you get it caught in the ladder, that's the best thing you can do, but it's pretty hard to do. I was able to do that there in that footage. It's sort of lucky. Usually what I have to do is time the explosion of the bomb just by watching the fuse burn. If you can land on that ladder, you don't have to worry about the timing of it. So between those two, I'm hoping you can figure that one out. Coming through this door right here, we're actually going to be fighting another pair of those lizards. There is absolutely nothing different about this fight. The same strategy applies. I mean, the area that you're fighting in is a little bit different, but assuming you're not jumping all over the place trying to catch these guys, which again, I don't really think you can do. If you just sit tight, let them come to you. Not really much to this fight. If you don't have a Hylian shield, and you're trying to do it with the Deku shield, like, geez, I actually haven't done that in a very long time, to be honest with you. But I believe as long as you stay locked on, Link will sort of twist around when they jump over you, and you should be able to defend basically the same way, I would imagine. Again, like I said, I haven't done that in a very long time. I just always have a Hylian shield in Dodongo's Cavern. If you didn't know, certain fire attacks will actually burn a Deku shield away to nothing. Like, it'll remove it from your inventory and you'll have to buy another one. The fire keys are one thing that'll do that. That's the fire bats. And they're sneaky. They'll fly in from off screen, and they'll fly right into you before you can even react, and then your shield is gone, and it's just that walk of shame where you have to go find a vendor somewhere. Anyway, we just took a look at a room where you got to shoot one of these switches, which removes the flames from this platform. This is basically the same thing, only there's 2 platforms here. And you have to quickly snap to the left, do a 90-degree turn real quick, and shoot another switch to remove the fire from the second platform, and you have to kind of do it quickly. There's no timer sound in that room, but there is a timer going, and you will get burned if you're not quick enough. Anyway, this was that maze-like room. I meant to mention that there are multiple entrances and exits in that room. So now we're a little bit up higher. This is a level that we couldn't have reached until we had gone all the way around. But there you go. That's the new item in Dodongo's Cavern, the bomb bag. Pretty cool, right? And it's kind of nice because, I mean, we've obviously been blowing stuff up using the bomb flowers, but up until now we've sort of been restricted to where we can use bombs because there has to be a bomb flower in the room, right? Some rooms don't have bomb flowers. And now obviously we have our own supply of bombs, so we can blow stuff up wherever we want. And we're going to test them out by first dropping some bombs through these holes in the bridge here. We're actually dropping these bombs into the eyes of this Dodongo skull, which is going to turn them red. And when you do that to both of them, its mouth is going to open. We're actually going to find a door inside, which is pretty cool. I'm coming over here and sort of focusing on this bombable door over here. That's actually a mistake. While I was recording this, I wanted to remind the viewers that there's a Deku shield back there that you can get, which is totally wrong. There's not a Deku shield back there. There is a Deku shrub in this room that you can buy a Deku shield from, so if you have had your shield burned away in here, you can buy another one. Anyway, now that we're inside the Dodongo skull, we're going to come over here, we're going to find a locked door. The switch is down in this hole, and as you can see, it's another one of those momentary switches. And there is a block that we will use to weigh that switch down, but again, it's way too far out of reach. So we can get around back behind it by coming this way. This room over here is pretty simple. There are a lot of fire keys flying around, so depending on how brave you are, you can kind of just run through it. Or you can practice your shooting skills and try to take them out, try to snipe them with your slingshot. This little section right here is pretty funny. You're supposed to push these blocks down into this area on our right-hand side. So you can reach that block in the distance over there and actually get it to push over. But if you actually just hop up on top of that wall, you can just skip that whole puzzle, if you even want to call it that. There's actually a fairy that pops out of one of those jars there, and it almost always flies out of bounds, but if you're just kind of patient, it'll usually come back, if you're lucky, if it likes you. Alright, and here we are. We've gone all the way around, and now we're up on top of this balcony over here, back behind this block. And we'll go ahead and push it off this cliff. And this here is pretty much where we are guaranteed to be harassed by the keys. Those are the bats flying around the room. And there's something that I find funny about those guys. They're just, they're everywhere in Ocarina of Time. They're probably in every dungeon somewhere at some point. And it's just, you know, you're expected to figure out puzzles while these things are dive bombing you. I just get a kick out of it. I love how they're flapping, and you constantly hear the flapping, and then the flapping stops. And that's how you know that they're literally dive bombing you at that moment. They're like flying straight down at you. Anyway, now with that block, pressing that switch down for us, we'll be able to head into this room right here. And this is actually going to be the boss of Dodongo's Cavern. So that floor there is actually bombable. Not only that, but there's also some bombs in a chest there for us, which is very nice, because we will be using those in this fight. And now we'll see a pretty cool cutscene introducing us to King Dodongo here. Alrighty, so the only two things that you really need to know about King Dodongo is, one, you damage him by throwing a bomb in his mouth. He'll inhale to do a fire attack at you, so when he's inhaling, you throw a bomb in his mouth, and then the bomb will explode inside his stomach, and then he'll be vulnerable and you can hit him. I recommend doing a jump slash because it does extra damage. But aside from that, the second big thing, you'll see it right here after I attack. Here it comes. Watch where I stand. Look at that right there. There's a little bit of a safe zone in between like this flat portion that I'm standing on right here. In between that and the lava, there's like that slanted section. You could stand there and he can't roll into you. And it makes this fight pretty trivial. And there you go. As you can see, since I was doing jump slashes, all it took is 3 cycles, and King Dodongo is going to go down super fast. I love how he kind of dies here, the way he rolls into the lava, and the lava cools, and then you get to walk on it. Change in color and sort of twitching as he burns. Yikes, man, that's pretty violent. Speaking of which, I have no idea how this game got an E rating with the ESRB. That actually kind of blows my mind. Definitely seems like a teen-rated game to me. In any case, though, that was Dodongo's Cavern. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I think if there's any one big secret to the King Dodongo fight, it's definitely knowing where you can stand. I was trying to point out those sloped areas there. If you stand anywhere on those slanted spots, you can kind of just stand there and watch King Dodongo go by, and he pretty much can't touch you, so that's definitely pretty cool. In any case, coming up next is going to be inside Lord Jabu Jabu's belly. I hope you stay tuned for it, and I'll see you in the next video.